There we go. So, my name is Bill Spencer. I manage large accounts for Microsoft Teams, and we're going to talk about how Teams is the hub for teamwork in Office 365. So, you may be wondering, why do we need another collaboration tool in Office 365? We have Outlook, we have Yammer, we have SharePoint, we have Skype for Business. Well, what we've been hearing from our customers is that their customers are asking for the delivery of more complex projects. So the marketplace is demanding greater collaboration and more complex collaborations. And Teams is really designed to help with those sorts of complex collaborations. Now, we're seeing great acceptance in the market. It's fair to say that Teams is the fastest growing version 1 enterprise product in Microsoft's history. And in the past 12 months, our anniversary was just this past week. Over 200,000 organizations are using Teams in 181 markets. It's currently available in 39 languages, so it's really a great tool for collaborating with colleagues in other countries. And what we're hearing is a lot of people are using it to collaborate between different shifts at the same location or with remote team members. And especially when time zones make it challenging to get everyone on a call at the same time, Teams is really helpful for keeping the collaboration going despite the time zone differences. So what is it about Teams that's attracted this amount of attention? Well, I think the key thing is the way it's designed. So we're going to go over the 4 design goals, but let's just look at how the product is written. It's written as a web service, and then it's wrapped for the Windows and Mac desktops. So the same features ship simultaneously on Mac, Windows, and the web. Now when I'm using Teams, I generally have the desktop client open, but I'm also using my web client, and sometimes I'm even using it on my mobile device at the same time. Teams has a native application for iOS, Android, and Windows Phone. And because it's a unitary application, so it's not windowed like, say, Skype for Businesses, it's really helpful to have the browser version open while you're working on the desktop so you can, for example, cut and paste from 2 different teams and cross-post. But let's talk about the design goals. So Teams is the one place for all your team activity: chat, apps, and meetings. And by pulling those all together, it makes it easy to collaborate between the different modes of communication. It's integrated with Office 365, and what's particularly helpful is that you can customize each chat room in Teams. We call them channels. You can customize them with the Office documents that are related to whatever particular project or topic your team is collaborating on. So you don't have to think about things like, oh, I want to work with an Excel spreadsheet, let me go open Excel. Instead, you think, I'm going to go to this particular team and this particular project, and the data will be there just a click away. The data is at my fingertips. So you're not thinking about the application, you're thinking about the project or the topic, and the appropriate documents and services are available there. But it's not just limited to Office 365. We support any secure HTTP service, so you can use literally thousands, tens of thousands of internet services and customize each one of your chat rooms with a custom set of integrations. And to make it easier for you, over 200 companies have delivered specific integrations for Teams. So you can bring in various work that you might have already started in things like Asana or GitHub or Jira or any number of third-party applications. And that number is increasing by 10 or 20 every month. And then finally, all of it's based on Office 365 security and compliance. So the data is encrypted at rest and the data is encrypted over the wire. The data on your device is secure. And you can collaborate about the most sensitive topics and be assured that we've got independent audits from ISO and SOC proving our compliance with their high security standards. Teams also has the same types of, it's compatible with the Exchange compliance tools. So everything your IT department does for managing Exchange compliance can be used for managing the compliance of the conversations in Teams. And that makes it makes Teams the lowest cost option in the enterprise group chat application. Another aspect to that is now we have guest access where you can include users who are on Gmail, on companies that don't subscribe to Office 365. So important vendors or customers or partners can be brought into the collaborations on your company's tenant, and each company can have as many as 500,000 guests, so 500,000 guests at no additional cost to the company. So it's a great way to extend your collaborations outside of your organization in a secure and compliant way. So I'd like to ask Dan to take over the view so we can demonstrate Teams. And Dan and Bill are from Valorum, which is helping a number of our customers use Teams to automate their sales process. And this is something that they've been doing internally, and now they're bringing it to their customers, and it's seen some pretty good acceptance in the marketplace. All right. So as this screen's coming up, I just want to emphasize that if you take advantage of the guest access I was just describing, please initiate the browser. We prefer the Edge or the Chrome browser, and use the in private mode or anonymous mode when you connect to another tenant, because Teams allows for companies' IT departments to set multi-factor authentication, and sometimes another company's multi-factor authentication will conflict with your own company's multi-factor authentication. So it's just easiest if you set it up in a browser when you go and visit another tenant, and encourage any of the guests on your own tenant to use Chrome or Edge with anonymous or in private mode. All right, so let's go over what we have here. There's three major regions to Teams, and let's just go from left to right. So on the far left is a dark purple bar, and that is called the App bar. And you can see there's a number of popular applications: Activity, Chat, Teams, Meetings, and Files listed on the App bar. And when you click on one of those, it populates the white column called the left rail, and the selection in the left rail populates the light blue area called the main arena. And let's talk a little bit about the left rail. On the left rail, you can see that in App Bar, we could see that Dan has selected the Teams app, and there are two teams that Dan is on: the marketing team and the sales operations team. And a team is just a group of people. It's just what it sounds like. It's a roster of people, and it's represented on the user experience with an icon. In the case of the marketing team, you can see that green icon, and those are customizable. Then the name of the team, marketing team, and then three dots, which is the More menu. And you'll find more menus all over the Teams user experience. Most objects in Teams has a More menu, but they're not always as obvious as they are in the case of the team header. In fact, you can see that when Dan hovers over general channel in sales operation, that there's a More menu specific to that channel. And each one of these More menus is specific. In this case, each of these channels has each of these teams has a number of chat rooms or topics that they are talking about. There's always a general channel that's created by default, and it's immediately below the team header. And then there's a number of custom channels they've created. There's an urgent channel. You can see that under the marketing team. And then under sales and operation, there's Contoso resellers. And you'll notice that each one of these also has a holding bin, if you will. These are the channels that the team overall might be talking about, but Dan has chosen, for whatever reason, not to make these his favorite. And he could change that by, for example, going to the More channel for Contoso, or excuse me, for sales operations. Yeah, you could do that one. And just select marketing and click on the little star, and that sets it as a favorite. So you could think of this as his reading list. When he has time, he can go down and click on each one of these that are bold, and he'll know that there's something new since the last time he visited that channel. Why don't you click on products just so people can see the change to the main arena? And and now it's no longer bold because he's caught up. And could you scroll up so we can see the last time you read this? Um, there we go. There's a last read line. So it's easy to find where you last read the conversation and pick it up from there. And let's talk about the main arena area, and we'll go from top to bottom in this case. So left to right, app bar, left rail, and main arena. And then from top to bottom on the main arena, there's the search box or command box at the very top. Beneath that is the navigation bar that lists the name of the channel and, excuse me, the name of the team, marketing team, and the channel products. And you'll notice that there is a more menu there, dot, dot, dot. And immediately beneath the nav bar is the tab line. And here there's the two standard tabs, conversations and files. And then there's a new one, budget tasks. And then beneath that is in the body of the main arena, we see that there's a number of threaded conversations. So Karen has got a number of posts. Julian has another post on the budget. And you'll notice that for each one of these threads, there is a reply box at the bottom. So Dan could add to that. So why don't you add to one of these and say, something like, can you repeat that in English, or something along those lines, because they're clearly collaborating in French. Great. And why don't you expand where it says collapse all to show how Teams does some smart collapsing on these, and it makes it easy to expand a thread and read through it and then move on to the next thread. Okay, and going down to the bottom of the main arena is a compose box, and that's how you start a new thread. We call it a new conversation here, but that's how you start a new thread. And you'll see here a helpful reference to the @ mention, which I really think is the critical aspect of how to make Teams a effective and productive addition to your collaboration tool set within your organization, is to at mentions. When you use an @ mention, it leads to a notification up in the activity app in the upper right, or excuse me, in the upper left in the app bar. And it also leads to, if you don't get on Teams within a certain period of time, it leads to an email in your inbox. So particularly when you're starting out, most people you're going to be working with are using Outlook as their primary collaboration tool. And Teams just adds a lot more structure to a collaboration. So you want to pull people from Outlook into Teams, and the use of @ mention is critical for pulling people in. But even once you start using Teams, @ mentions makes it reasonable, because if you don't, then each channel becomes a new inbox that you have to read in order to catch up on the conversation. At Microsoft, we encourage all of the users, we put the burden on the person posting to specifically, individually @ mention those people in the team who need to read that message. Anyone can read it, but there's a call out to individuals. And when they come in, when they come into Teams, they go to activity, and they can find those specific call outs and quickly process all the different information that's in Teams. All right, well, this is a quick overview of the user experience. Now let's create or join a team. Let's go down to the bottom of the left rail and click on Join or Create a Team. And you'll see that there's a large box here to create a team. Many of you, when you go through this process, you'll see additional teams listed here that are public teams in your company, and they're sorted by proximity of the owner or the creator to where you sit in the organization. So Teams uses the Active Directory to prioritize the list of public teams that you see. And you can use the search box in the upper right in order to find additional teams. But let's click on Create Team, and let's type in, let's call this team Training 22. Great. And it's always good to have a description, but we're just going to pass over that in the interest of time. Below that, under Privacy, let's make this a public team so other people in the organization can join, because this is a training team, so we want as many people to be participating in training as possible. Click on Next. And what's happening in the process is Teams is creating an Office 365 group and a SharePoint for this particular team. Now, I think it's critical whenever you create a team, even a public team that anyone can join, that you specifically have someone else as a team owner. So let's add Bill. And when you click Add, let's further click on where it says Member. There's that down caret, and let's promote Bill to being an owner. Great, and hit Close. Perfect. Okay, so now we've got a new team that you can see in the left rail. And Dan, if you could, let's drag the training team up to the top. So the left rail is customizable, so we can drag that up to the top and make it our top team. So each individual can set up the order in which their teams are listed. They can't change the order of the channels. Those are in alphanumeric order. But what they can do is select which channels are favorites and which teams are favorites, and that makes them more prominent in their user experience. Okay, so we've got a new team. Let's welcome everyone to the training team. So compose a new message. Just click in Welcome. Great. And hit Send. So when you hit Return in that simple Compose box form, it sends the message, and you can see it's a new thread. Bill, if you could reply to Dan's message so people can see how the threading works, I'd appreciate it. And let's get some work done here. Excellent. Dan, if you could acknowledge Bill's excitement there and just give him a thumbs up using that like on the upper right. There's a few things that are kind of hidden until you hover over the upper right, including the like option, bookmark, and the More menu. And we'll talk about each one of those. Well, that's a way to do a simple post. Now let's do a slightly more complicated post. And to do that, click on the A with the pen next to it under the word Start. And what this does is it opens up the Compose form. And this gives us a few additional options, like a formatting bar there across the top, a subject line. And let's take advantage of that and make the subject Urgent Channel. Great. And now I think whenever you start a conversation, it's particularly important to follow up on what I said earlier about using @mention. So let's do an @mention to Bill. So type ampersand or the @ and Bill's name. And let's see, I think you moved a little quickly there. Let's try that one more time. There we go. Select there. Perfect. Now, I like to backspace over the person's last name. If your company has the first name last type setup, it's easy to backspace over and make this a little less formal. Bill, comma, and then we can put in a call out to the whole channel. So let's do @ and then start to type the word channel, and it fills in general, which is the name of this particular chat room or channel, comma, and @team. And you'll notice it fills in the word training 22, which is the name of the team. All right, so let's put a colon there and say, I have created an urgent channel in order to keep us all on the same page, period. Please follow it. Excellent. Okay. So that's a good example of a message. And now we can leave messages in draft form. Quick message like this, you probably feel pretty safe 99 times out of 100 leaving it in draft form. Now, if you create something quite long, I would encourage you to send it because in most cases you can come back and edit it. So I just mark draft on the top and I hit send, and then I'll come back and do some fine editing. But in this case, we're going to get some work done. We're going to use that helpful button up above to create more channels. So those three initial buttons that are in the middle of the screen, actually, could you use it in the left rail there? Nope. See right beneath there where it says create more channels? Right beneath where you are. There we go, yeah. Create more channels. So let's create a channel here, and let's create a budget channel. Training usually involves budget, and we can add that. And we don't need a description right now. Well, I'll give an example of that in a moment. And then we can add one for venues. That's important. Now, to do this one, let's use the more menu for the channel, and let's notice that it says. Okay, you're going a little fast. Let's put in venues. Okay. Okay. I can tell who's had coffee this morning. All right. So it says in this more menu for the channel header, excuse me, the team header, it says remove favorite, manage team, add channel, add members, leave the team, edit the team, get link to team, delete the team. So it's important for people to see what those different options are. Click on add channel, just as you were doing. Thank you, Dan. Great, and let's add venues. Great. Okay, and now let's add one more using the same process, going to the team header more menu, add channel, and let's put 1-urgent. So the teams are listed in alphanumeric order. And let's put yourself down as the owner. Let's say owner is Dan. And if you want to impose a sort order, you can do that by numbering your channels. And you can go back and edit the channels and then put in numbers later after you've let them grow organically for a while. And I think it's helpful to have a description with the team owner, or excuse me, the channel owner. So in this case, if someone wants to delete this channel later or consolidate it with others, they can talk to Dan and get his agreement and then go ahead and do that. So let's hit add. All right, so let's just take a moment to look at the left rail here. So we have the training team with 4 channels, the default, the general channel, urgent, which we've popped up in sort order by putting a 1 in front of it, and then budget and venues in the sort order you would expect. And let's show people how to follow a channel. So to do that, go to the More menu associated with the channel, and you can do that either in the left rail or in the main arena. So click on that More menu, and let's go down to follow this channel, and notice the options are remove it as a favorite, edit this channel, add connectors, get link to the channel, delete this channel, and let's click on follow this channel. And when you follow a channel, every time someone posts in that channel, you'll get a notification up in activity. You can see now Dan has 4 notifications in activity. And if you don't get on Teams fast enough, then you're going to get an email as well. So it's a great way of pulling people into Teams who might be sort of still using Outlook all the time. All right. So also notice that this channel has three tabs: Conversations, Files, and Wiki across the tab line. And let's do one more thing. Let's go to the dot 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 right there in the main arena associated with the nav bar. There you go. Click on that. And again, you have the same feature, or the same channels or the same commands we saw earlier. And let's get a link to the channel, the last one of those options. So whenever in doubt, look for the More menu and explore those options. And we're going to get a link to the channel. Copy that into your clipboard. Okay. Now let's go back to General. And to get back to General, let's use the navigation. So those arrows, the right and left arrows at the top, you can use to navigate just like you do in a browser, because this is a web service. Okay, so we're back in the General channel, and we've got our message. It's still in compose form, or draft form. Let's select the words "an urgent channel" in the body of the message, and then go to the hyperlinks, the two chain-like links up above, and paste in that link to the channel that you had copied. All right, and click Insert. Great. And you can see that that font has changed a little bit, but let's use the formatting options to make this even more prominent. Select an urgent channel one more time, and then let's take advantage of some of the formatting options in the format bar. The B to make it bold, the U to make it underlined, and then the A with the underline in order to change that font. And choose whatever color you want. Great. And then we have a real request here for people. Let's draw their eye to it by highlighting "Please follow it," and use the highlighter icon in the there we go. Choose whatever one of those you like. Good. All right. Now, what's nice is in the compose form that we're in now, you can enter a return, and it inserts a carriage return as opposed to sending the message. So let's hit a couple carriage returns and insert some of the fun features, which I think helps to soften kind of a direct request that you made here. So beneath you is a circle with a smiley face in it. Let's insert an emoji, yeah, whichever one of those you like. Perfect, okay. Hit return again, and let's insert a sticker. That's with the smiley face and the square. And these are editable little pictures that are kind of fun. Insert whichever one of these appeals to you. And let's maybe put in urgent channel or something. I don't know, whatever font you want, whatever text you want. Perfect, okay. Click on done. So the nice thing about these, they're editable. Okay, hit return. And now let's add probably the most popular of all, which is Giphies. These are a feed of Giphies we get from Giphy.com. And let's search on the word "thank you." And choose one of these. Awesome. Tom Hanks. Good. Okay. Great. So now in order to send, we need to use the paper airplane icon in the lower right. Could be wrong. I think that Giphy is from the movie Big. Maybe not. I don't know. But great. Okay, so let's scroll up a little bit so people can appreciate the great step you've made here on collaboration. We've created a number of we've created a new team. We've created a number of channels. We've linked from one channel to the other and encouraged people to follow it, which is super helpful to keep everyone in teams as opposed to sliding back into using email only for collaboration. We've done some formatting, and very importantly, we've got the @mentions going as well, which will draw people into this particular post. Oh, we forgot one thing. We forgot to make this. I think this is an important one. So let's go and edit. Again, go back to the More menu in the upper right. Click on Edit, and you'll see that Delete and Unmark, mark as unread, are additional options there. And across the navigation line, the last option is an exclamation mark. and that makes this an important message. You can see it adds that text. Go ahead and hit send so people can see that it also adds a red badge, which is excuse me, marking it as important. Now, what's nice about this is this exclamation mark not only shows up on the right side of the Conversations tab, it also shows up on the right side of the left rail, and you can see an example in the marketing team's urgent channel, and you can see it in Contoso resellers as well. So the 1 is where someone has done an @mention for Dan, and the exclamation mark means there's something important there to read. So those are helpful ways of drawing people's attention into particular messages. Okay, great. So now let's get some other work done. Let's go over into the budget channel, and let's get some work done here. Let's start with, and we don't need to use the compose form. We can just type in @Bill. So we do an @mention for Bill. Great, backspace over his last name, comma, please approve my proposed budget. Excellent. Okay. Now we're going to use the paperclip icon, and in the background now, Teams is creating a folder on the SharePoint share associated with this team. So each team has its own SharePoint share, and in the background they also have a folder for each channel. All right, so let's upload from my computer and find the budget that you've been working on. There we go. And let's open that. And notice the light green, oh, I think we lost it there. I think you might have clicked or something. Let's try that one more time. It's important to wait for the light green bar to finish at the bottom before you do anything else. So let that finish. Okay, and now you can hit on the paper airplane to send this. And now we've posted a request to Bill. Hopefully Bill will respond quickly in the background. And I think this is an important example of an attachment. So in this case, in Teams, this is a cloud attachment, and the real attachment is in the Files tab. So let's look on the Files tab, and that's where we can view the SharePoint where this file has been uploaded. Now, Teams includes a view of SharePoint. To open SharePoint, you can click on that command right in kind of the center of the page to open in SharePoint. But I think once you start getting comfortable with Teams, you're not going to go to SharePoint very often unless you need something like, say, notifications of version changes or alerts, or maybe setting privileges, say don't print or something. Those you could still go and do in SharePoint. But otherwise, most of the commands you need are right here in Teams. And to see those, let's go to the More menu on the right for this particular file. And you can see that you can edit in Teams, in Excel, you can open in SharePoint, move, copy, download, delete, rename, get a link, and let's click on that last item, which is make this a tab. And when you do that, you've now added another item to the tab line. And you can see it's opening, let's scroll up so people can see the whole spreadsheet. It's opening this in sort of an embedded version of Excel here within Teams. And what's nice about this is all the key documents related to training are at your fingertips. So again, you don't have to think about files by the application used to create them. You think about them in terms of the teams you work with, the projects and topics. And the way to think about these tabs is imagine you've got the whole project team together in a conference room, and you're talking about the training plans. And inevitably, someone will get up and start writing on a whiteboard the decisions that need to be made or have been made, so they might be taking notes. And Wiki is a natural example of where you might want to do that. And then someone else might get up on the whiteboard in a different section. They'll start writing down the action items. So they'll create a task list. And then typically someone does some kind of chart. So it could be a timeline with key milestones. It could be a pie chart like this budget. It could be a graph of how sales are going to increase because you've done this training. But those different sections of the whiteboard that you would have in a physical conference room are analogous to the tabs that you have in this virtual workspace that Teams creates for each project you're working on. So, for example, now if we go to the venues, click on the venues tab, and you'll see, or the venues channel, and you'll see that we haven't done any customization of these tabs yet. So each channel has its own set of tabs, and that's a nice thing. Now, also we'll point out that there's 2 @mentions that have been done in the various parts of Training 22. So let's click back on budget just to see what Bill's got going on there. Okay, so we should add something to the budget. That's a great one. Let's acknowledge Bill's request. Okay, and let's start to track these tasks. So let's capture what Bill created there, and to do that, let's go to the plus on the tab line to create another tab to create a task list. Now this lists all of the various applications that are available for creating tabs, and you'll see at the top the popular Office 365 ones, but also notice that there is the website tab option in pink, and this has behind it tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of potential services. So any website that uses secure HTTP can be added as a tab right here in Teams, accessible on the browser, on the Mac, on mobile. So it's a great way of sharing information across your team that might be in a particular website. Now scrolling down, we can see a number of the integrations I had talked about. There are over 200 options for various types of integrations. These are the tabs in Teams, and notice quite a few of them are task list related. So Asana, Bitbucket, GitHub, Jira. These are MeisterTask. Going down even further, there's Reiki. These are all examples of task lists. But a really nice one that is included in Office 365 is Planner. And this integrates with Teams really well. So let's click on Planner. And notice you might not have all of the tabs I just showed, because it's up to your IT department which applications are available within your organization. Though I will point out that website tab is a great way to bring in existing services you're using. Now, under tab name, let's call this task list. And click on Save. Okay, so this is a simple Kanban board. Now let's capture the item that Bill just asked us to do, which is put up flyers in lunchroom. Yeah, I appreciate you doing this time of the morning, Dan. I know typing is not my forte this time. Let's set the due date for tomorrow. Shouldn't be too hard to put up flyers. And assign this to yourself. And let's capture what we've already done, add that as a task. So you've already created a budget. And I'm just answering Robert, yes, you will have recording access to the recording of this session. And let's assign that to yourself. And I would add that task, yeah. And then let's have Bill's task here, which is approve budget. and set that due date for maybe next week, and assign that to Bill. And putting up flyers is so 20th century. Let's get the team's feedback, gather team feedback as a new task. And set that due date for today. Who needs flyers when you got teams? And assign that to yourself. All right, great. So we've got a few tasks. Now, all of these are to-dos, but they're in different states. So let's add a new bucket or two to capture that. On Add New Bucket, let's click and say In Progress. Excellent. And let's add one more for Complete. Great. Okay. So let's see. Let's take Create Budget and drag that over to the Complete column. And when you do this, it's important that you drag it to the column, not to the header. Exactly. Let's put Gather Team Feedback and put that into In Progress, because we're going to do that right now. Okay. So this planner is a simple Kanban board that shows how to use the product, or excuse me, that shows how to do things. Oh, and I can see that Bill is in the process of approving, so he actually moved that over. Again, this is a great way to keep everyone on the team up to date on all the different activities. I would say any successful channel should have metrics, whether it's a dashboard or a scorecard or a budget, or it should have, and it also should have a task list. And Planner's a great way of creating that simple task list. Okay, so now let's click on the project budget, and let's gather the team's feedback. And a great way to do this is using conversations specific to this channel. So to do that, click on, in the upper right, there's something that looks like a cartoon chat cloud. Click on that and start a conversation. And let's do an @mention for the team. So do @team. Great. Please look at my budget and confirm this is enough money for training. And maybe tell them by Friday. Tell me by Friday. Speak now, or hold your peace. And hit send. Excellent. Okay. So what's nice about this conversation is it's prominent here within this tab. And these tabs are pretty useful. Let's toggle this chat window off by clicking on that same icon we just clicked on. And then click on the icon right next to it to expand out, so you can see that you can really get work done here within this tab. In many of the project teams I'm on, when we get together for our conversations, say a weekly checkpoint, we will simply open up Teams in conference room. Many people are working remotely, and we'll go through the tabs, and we'll capture the notes, we'll capture the discussion in either conversations or in the ones specific to the tab. And using the navigation arrows in the upper left, let's navigate back into conversations, and we can see that the thread that we started there in the tab is captured right here. Okay, well, it's great to see that Bill approved the budget. Let's give Bill an exclamation or a thumbs up there. And let's also recognize in the task list that Bill has changed his status. So again, the whole team can see what's going on. So maybe we can do this for Bill. Just drag it on over into complete. All right. And also, I think it's fair to say that you've done the well. We can leave team feedback in progress. That's great. Now, since the budget is approved, it's a good time to make the task list more prominent because now we'll have a whole set of training things, etc. Let's drag the task list in the team or the tab line in front of the budget. And what's nice is everyone on the team sees these tabs in the same order. So each individual chooses the order for the teams that are listed in the left rail, as we showed earlier. They can choose which channels are favorites and which teams are favorites. But once you get into a particular channel, all the tabs are the same, and of course the conversations and files are the same as well. So this is, the basis of collaboration in teams, super helpful. Now let's go through what a typical day is like. And what I do is I will, first thing in the morning, multiple times during the day, often on my mobile device, I will be going into my activity app to see all the places in Teams where people have called out that I need to read. So click on activity, and let's just see what that looks like. And we can see that there's the approval for the budget. Let's set a reminder for ourselves to incorporate any feedback that we get from the team by putting a bookmark next to the post of by Friday. Yeah, just bookmark that. We'll come back to that. So often, particularly when I'm on my mobile device, I don't have the time or the small form factor is making it inconvenient to do a lengthy response. So I will bookmark these items, and these are saved in my personal list. No one else sees that they're bookmarked except for me. And you'll notice that when you do that, it's saved in your personal profile picture up above. Let's see, the next item here is an urgent. Let's click on urgent, the unread post, the third one down from Bill 15 minutes ago. Yeah, click on that. Let's see what that one says. Get that budget done. All right, let's give Bill a thumbs up here. And I see yesterday Julian posted in Contoso Resellers, and he talks about the urgent channel. And let's see that post. Scroll up a little bit. Looks like Julian was in a particularly creative mood when he made that post. Oh, what happened there? It must be a little further down. There we go, yeah. Let's click on see more. Okay, this is pretty funny. All right, I think we've got to talk to Julian about that post. If nothing else, to find out where he got the Giphy. So let's bookmark this item as well. All right, great. And again, you'll notice that the saved in the upper right in your profile picture. So after I read all my activity, and we can filter these. So for example, I can click on the funnel that is in the top of the left rail, on the right side of the left rail. There's a funnel. The funnel icon, there we go. And you'll notice you can filter by unread, mentions, replies, following, etc. And let's click, for example, just on at mentions to make sure we've read all the times. Okay, looks like there's one more here. Let's click on Karen's at mention. And she's asking for a change in the budget. Let's bookmark that one too. Great. Perfect. Okay. And now let's take a look at our task list. So we've cleared activity. We've done all the key ones there. Let's go up in our profile picture in the upper right. And the third item down is saved. So let's click on saved. And this is the list of all of our bookmarks. And again, we're the only one who can see this list. So we can now, maybe we're back at our desktop or the web client, and we are going through each one of these items. And as we do them, we can unbookmark them, either clicking in the left rail on the little bookmark icon, or in the main arena. We can click on the bookmark item there. So as we process each one of these, it checks off the list, And again, this is such a productive way. I feel, in my opinion, I save an hour a day because processing this kind of information in Teams is so much more effective than it is in Outlook. So you can go ahead and uncheck this item as well. Great. And to me, there's a real feeling of, accomplishment. I'm getting ready to, kind of focus on my own work once I've had a chance to clear activity, clear saved. And then typically I'm getting some messages in chat. So let's go into chat. I'm surprised Bill's been so quiet in chat, but let's initiate a conversation with Bill. Oh, first let's click on Tbot. So I want everyone, when they come into Teams, the first thing they do is go to chat and then set Tbot as a favorite. And the nice thing, and you click on that star to set as a favorite. And the nice thing about Tbot is it's a easy way of answering questions you might have. So you can put in a question, as Bill did earlier, follow a channel, and Tbot pulls up the information about how to follow a channel. And it pulls that information from the Help and FAQ tabs. So notice that chat conversations have a different set of tabs. And these actually vary between bots like Tbot, one-on-one chats, and group chats. So another important reason to put Tbot as a favorite is because of the video tab. So let's click on that, the fourth tab. And this is a summary of everything I've shown you in really short, crisp videos. So if you're trying to get a new team member up to speed on Teams, you can walk her or him through this list of videos. They only take about 15 minutes. And with your color commentary, they'll be ready to get productive in Teams right away. Now, the fifth tab is for what's new. And I want to hold off on that because I want to show you a different way to get to what's new. Teams is introducing quite a few features each month. I'd say 10 to 20 significant or noticeable features every month. And when we do, I want to show you the fast way to say, hey, something's changed. What's going on? Go up into the command line and do a /, and it lists all the different shortcuts in Teams. Another kind of homework assignment I want to give each of you is to spend the time and go and try each one of these shortcuts so you know what these do, because these can really speed up your time in Teams, making it that much more of a time saver. And if you go down to the second to last one, the penultimate one is what's new. Click on that, and this takes you to that fifth tab. And here we can see that there's notifications that just shipped yesterday. We had a couple items ship last week. Earlier in March, there was more that shipped. And these are super helpful. Now, I really want, as another homework assignment, everyone to take a look at the March 14th date, where we have a link to check out Collaborate Securely with Anyone in Microsoft Teams. And that is great reading, so you can, easily, with the permission of your IT department, add guests, whether they're partners or customers or vendors, to your collaborations in Teams. And that explains how to do it. Okay, so this What's New area is super helpful to become more efficient in Teams. Great. So we've got another chat here, and you can see that there is a one or a pill count there in chat for an unread chat, and we can see it in bold right there in our list. Let's click on the chat from Bill and see what's going on here. With the budget approved, we should start planning the training materials. So let's give Bill a thumbs up on that, and let's add our partner Allie to this chat. So click on the click on that, and let's type in Allie's name. There we go, Allie Ballou. Add her. And we've got a group chat now, which we can change to being the training material. So let's call it, see that pen that's next to the two names? When you've got more than 2 participants, you can rename the chat, and let's call it training materials. Great, and click Save. And now let's upload a proposed training material. So click on the box at the bottom, and you'll notice in chat, instead of threads, it's a simple back and forth conversation, as you might expect in a chat conversation. And say, here is my proposed training material. And you can use @mentions here as well. Do an @mention to Dan, @mention to Bill, and to Allie. Great, backspace. What do you think? Excellent, okay. And let's use the paperclip icon to attach the best practices presentation. Now, what's important to realize is in Teams, you can have 2,500 people. So 2,500 people can be in a team, but in a chat, you can only have up to 20 people. And the reason is, and notice that green status bar at the bottom, it's important to wait for that to finish, and now you can hit send. So you can have up to 20 people in a chat, and that limitation actually comes from the fact that we use OneDrive for Business on the back end as the place we save our chat conversation, the attachments in chat. And you can click on the Files tab here to see the attachment. Oh, I'm glad to see Bill enjoys our best practices presentation. And you can also see where these are stored by clicking on the Files app on the app bar, clicking on OneDrive, and then going to the folder called Microsoft Teams Chat Files, right there. And there is the attachments. So in Channels and in Teams, all of your information is saved in SharePoint. There's a SharePoint for each team, and there is a folder for each channel. And you can see that by opening in SharePoint. In chat conversations, the files are saved in the person who posts the file in their OneDrive for Business in this folder called Microsoft Teams Chat Files. And you can see that by opening in OneDrive, as that command shows right there. All right, perfect. Now let's show another feature in Teams, which is how to customize your notifications. So let's go back to the profile picture. And there's a few ways you can customize the product in a useful way. Let's go to Settings. And let's give people an experience of the dark theme. Click on Dark. And many people, particularly in development, view this as much more restful on the eyes. It helps them work longer because they're able to see the dark theme. High contrast are for folks who have maybe some accessibility issues. This really makes it stand out. But I personally prefer the default just because it's easier to differentiate the different sections of Teams. Clicking on Notifications, I can customize the notifications. Now, I encourage you to do this with your project team. So, for example, I really emphasize personal @mentions, and I think those should get a banner and email. A channel mention, I don't believe I should necessarily get an email for. So let's set that down to a banner. And a team @mention, maybe I want to just have that in the feed. So let's just show that only in the feed, okay? Now, it's up to you. You may have a culture where people use the channel mentions. And if you're getting that from a senior person, maybe even a team @mention is something you want to keep as banner and email. But you can set these options for all the different ways to get notifications. Now, this is in addition to following an individual channel, which we showed earlier with the urgent channel. And I think that is a good best practice. Now, another thing I think worth looking at as a team is the email frequency. So initially, if people don't have the habit of using Teams, I think you should set this to as soon as possible. And again, this will be a little busy in terms of email initially, but once people get in the habit of having Teams running and checking it out, they will be able to set this and maybe make it every 10 minutes or whatever. But initially, as soon as possible is not a bad option because that will bring people into Teams as soon as they get a notification. And if they're going to be getting notifications primarily from the urgent channel and at mentions, well, this is a good way to get the Teams habit started. All right, so let's click on that. And I see we are at time, so I want to thank particularly Dan and Bill for helping me do the demo. Check out Valorum. And I also want to thank all of you for your attention today and all the great questions. I'm going to follow up in email. If you've provided your email, I will respond to those questions. And I'll also be sending out the recording to this. So